Seven-time NASCAR champion Jimmie Johnson finally got behind the wheel of an IndyCar this morning. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. And we are sliding pretty far out of the groove today. Usually on this show, the focus is NASCAR. It's my favorite motorsport. It's the motorsport I know the most about. That's usually what 90% of the conversation on this show is about. But today, the two main things I want to talk about don't really actually have anything to do with NASCAR. Now, some people associated with NASCAR are involved, which is why we're talking about them, but they actually involve two series that are not NASCAR related whatsoever. Kind of a change of pace, you might say. So let's get to it. Actually, we will start with one story that is NASCAR related. Yesterday it was announced that the Dover NASCAR weekend scheduled for August 21st through 23rd will be held without fans in attendance. According to the track yesterday, local officials in Delaware would not approve the track's request to run their events with fans that weekend. So Trucks Xfinity Cup, no fans in the stands for Dover, unfortunately. Now Dover, Delaware is located up in the northeastern United States, and NASCAR hasn't had a whole lot of luck with that region of the country. I mean, the Pocono doubleheader was run without fans. Watkins Glen was straight up canceled for this year. Now I believe this weekend at New Hampshire, they are going to allow a very limited number of fans, I believe, so maybe a change of pace there. But yeah, Dover, the August 23rd weekend, will not allow fans in any capacity. Daytona, the week before, the Daytona road course, last I checked, is still planning on allowing a very limited number of fans. So if you're in the southeastern United States and you're hoping to attend a race, if you missed my video I did at the All-Star race a couple weeks ago, I went to that race, which allowed almost 30,000 fans. If you want to know what it looks like going to a NASCAR race during a pandemic, all the safety protocols and measures that are put into place, how fans are following them, how people are reacting to them, check out that video. Had a lot of fun doing it, and hopefully it'll give you some insight if you're trying to make it out to Daytona or one of these other races here in the coming weeks. All right, but other than that, that's really the only NASCAR-focused thing I really want to talk about. Now, NASCAR is the biggest motorsport in America. All the talk of how ratings have dipped, attendance has dipped. NASCAR, sure, is not as popular as it once was, but it is still, by a fairly wide margin, the most popular motorsport in the country. And as a result, its drivers, its personalities have pretty significant reach into other forms of motorsports. Now, earlier this month, or several weeks ago, Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart revealed a brand new racing series called the Superstar Racing Experience. This brand new series is expected to run next summer, be broadcast on CBS, and will feature 6 races at 6 unique short tracks around the United States. And while the driver lineup has not yet been finalized, we know Tony Stewart is racing in it, and actually last week, Tony Kanaan from the IndyCar series has also said that he will race in the event as well, in the entire series. And it sounds like they will be announcing a few other competitors here in the not so distant future. So this brand new racing series with a focus on short tracks, created by Ray Evernham and kind of fronted by Tony Stewart, sounds pretty promising. And for the first time since its announcement almost a month ago, Ray Evernham allowed us a little bit of a sneak peek, perhaps, at what the race cars are going to look like. Now remember, these race cars are basically going to be spec cars. They're all going to be built and designed by Ray Evernham, so all the drivers, when they hit the track, should be in pretty much equal equipment. But here's a sneak peek of what these Superstar Racing Experience cars might look like. This is what their official Twitter account revealed. Obviously, it's a rendering, not a real photograph of what the cars may look like. And it's just kind of a view of the front end, the hood area, and of course the front tire. A few things to note just looking at this image. Firstly, and this is just my opinion, I think the car looks pretty cool. I mean, it kind of has almost a Trans Am look to it in the front. It's got that huge splitter, which I'm not too sure about, but the series is focused on short track, so I don't think that's a huge deal or anything. It's a sporty looking race car. The front end almost looks like, it kind of looks like the newer super late model bodies, like with the Camaro look and sort of stuff like that. It's pretty cool. I like it. It's low to the ground. It looks sleek. The vents in the hood look pretty awesome. But a couple other things to note. One, the tire says Goodyear Eagle on it. Last we checked, Ray Evernham said they were talking to different tire companies trying to get sort of an official tire of the SRX. Perhaps this means Goodyear signed on. Of course, Goodyear has deep ties in NASCAR. Wouldn't be shocking. But also, looking at this image, you'll notice a single lug nut design on the tire. Those gold rims, I don't know about that. I don't know if it matches the rest of the car, but there you can see just one lug nut, which of course NASCAR has said in 2022 when they... So the SRX trying to get ahead of the game. This makes me wonder if perhaps Ray Evernham is working with similar partners to who NASCAR is working with regarding the next gen car. Maybe they debut the next gen car. Those cars are going to have a single lug nut design. So the SRX trying to get ahead of the game. This makes me wonder if perhaps Ray Evernham is working with similar partners to who NASCAR is working with regarding the next gen car. Maybe they're working with the same manufacturers or the same suppliers. I don't know, but needless to say, the car looks pretty cool. I mean, I gotta say, that's my opinion. The car looks pretty cool, at least, you know, the front third that we can see there. It looks neat. Now, of course, this is just a rendering, and SRX also tweeted out this photo of a slightly varied front end design. This one features like the grille opening is shaped like an X, which is kind of cool because it's called the SRX. I like that. That's kind of a neat idea. I'm not really sure how it's actually going to look on the racetrack, but this photo you also see the big splitter, and there's still the stuff on the hood, and it looks like it's still Goodyear tires. So I mean, they're still testing maybe a few different designs. This makes it look like makes me think that they don't actually have one of these cars built yet. They're still probably deep in the designing process, but still kind of finalizing a few details. But needless to say, this looks pretty cool. I know it's not a NASCAR series, but it's involving NASCAR personalities, NASCAR superstars, NASCAR legends, if you will, Ray Evernham, Tony Stewart. I mean, come on. And I'll say this, a vocal portion of the NASCAR fan base has been calling for more short tracks in recent years, and up to this point, NASCAR has not been able to oblige those requests. They've added road courses with like the Charlotte Roval, the Indianapolis road course this year. They've added road courses. They've added new tracks like Nashville Super Speedway we're going to see next year. Not a short track, but at least it's something new. NASCAR up to this point has not been able to add a new short track to the schedule. They haven't added a new short track to the Cup Series schedule in, I mean, honestly, it's been decades. I mean, I'm not kidding. So with that in mind, a series that focuses on short tracks, that features drivers like Tony Stewart, Tony Kanaan, and I have a feeling there'll be several other big name drivers at least involved in this series when it's all said and done. Count me in. I am interested. I will be talking about this. I will be watching this series next year, assuming it all goes off as intended, because I'm super interested. Short track racing around the country does not get the publicity I think it deserves. So if Tony Stewart, Ray Evernham are able to kind of shed a light as to how great short track racing is at this level, at this maybe smaller scaled down level, I'd say go for it. I'm super excited to see how it works out. Anyway, now I want to talk about IndyCar, open wheel racing. I know, Eric, whoa, you don't talk about open wheel racing. That's not your thing. And you're right, it's not my bread and butter, but earlier this morning, NASCAR 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson finally got behind the wheel of an IndyCar for his much anticipated test with Chip Ganassi Racing. This morning, he was racing at the Indianapolis road course configuration. It's an off weekend for NASCAR, if you can believe it. And so videos and photos of him testing the car, running single car runs around that racetrack in a Chip Ganassi prepared car. Those have all surfaced, and it looks pretty cool. Look at this fire suit Jimmie's wearing, the all white with the striped. It's pretty cool. Got the JJ logo. It's simple, but I like it. Kind of has an old school feel to it right there. But yeah, Jimmie Johnson, this test was originally scheduled for earlier in July, but when Jimmie Johnson had COVID-19, had to miss the Indianapolis NASCAR race, the test got postponed, of course. But now here we are finally at long last seeing Jimmie Johnson behind the wheel of an IndyCar car. Jimmie Johnson has said many times in recent months that he would like to race at least some number of IndyCar races next year. Even though 2020 is still expected to be his final year racing in the NASCAR Cup Series full time, Jimmie Johnson has reiterated time and time again that he is not done racing, just done full-time racing. And recently, Jimmie Johnson opened up about the possibility of him racing in the Indianapolis 500. Originally, like a year ago when Jimmie first talked about racing IndyCar, racing open wheel, he said very clearly that he did not want to race any of the big fast ovals on the IndyCar schedule. But this year, and he recently said this, due to the invention, the creation of the aero screen that we've seen at IndyCar races this year and came into play at Iowa last weekend when there was a massive crash where it looked like the aero screen likely played a factor in protecting the drivers. With the introduction of the new aero screen, Jimmie Johnson just last month indicated that he would possibly be interested in running in IndyCar's biggest race, the Indianapolis 500. No plans have been set, of course, and even today he's not testing the oval configuration at Indianapolis, he's testing the road course configuration, because all along Jimmie Johnson has expressed interest in running road course races on the IndyCar schedule. But consider the Indy 500 officially on Jimmie Johnson's radar. I'm not a big IndyCar fan. I watch a good amount of IndyCar races, but I do not follow IndyCar as closely as I follow NASCAR. But just as a motorsports fan in general, and somebody who really likes Jimmie Johnson, wants to see Jimmie Johnson do great things here at the end of his career, I would love to see Jimmie Johnson race the Indy 500. We haven't seen like a full-time, I mean, obviously if Jimmie at the end of this year won't be an active NASCAR driver, but the last time we saw, like an active or recently active NASCAR Cup Series driver in the Indianapolis 500, I believe it was Kurt Busch back in 2014, and he ran 6th in the Indy Indy 500, which was, I believe that was his first ever Indy start of any kind. So that was pretty cool. Oh, I forgot about Danica. I guess she ran it in 2018, right after her Cup career came to an end. That didn't go very well. So I mean, I guess, yeah, NASCAR drivers making the jump over and trying to run the Indy 500 does happen from time to time, but we have not seen a driver as high profile as Jimmie Johnson, as talented, as successful as Jimmie Johnson try to make this transition or try to run that race in quite some time. So I would be all for seeing Jimmie Johnson try to run the Indy 500. I'm just excited to see Jimmie Johnson run an IndyCar race of any kind. I'd love to see how one of the great NASCAR drivers of all time is able to stack up against the top open wheel drivers in the country. Of course, Jimmie has less experience, but Jimmie Johnson, from a very young age, I mean, he's even said recently that growing up, he wanted to be an IndyCar driver. Obviously, things changed, things happened. He went to NASCAR and has had a tremendous career in NASCAR, but Jimmie Johnson has a deep appreciation for the IndyCar series and for IndyCar drivers. So I'd love to see what Jimmie can do, even with limited experience, limited opportunity. If Chip Ganassi is the team that he ends up working with and ends up running with, that's a championship quality team, of course, in IndyCar. So that would be pretty awesome to watch. And speaking of Chip Ganassi Racing, of course, that's who he ran the test with today. Scott Dixon, 5-time IndyCar champion, was seen at the test as well, talking to Jimmie Johnson, working with Jimmie Johnson kind of as his driver coach for the day. That's good company to be in if you're Jimmie Johnson. That's a good guy to learn from when it comes to figuring out open wheel cars on a road course for the first time. Scott Dixon started this year off in the IndyCar series with, what, 3 straight wins? I mean, yeah, that's a good guy to learn from. Anyway, my point is, even though I'm not the biggest IndyCar fan in the world, I'm excited to see what Jimmie Johnson can do in that series, even on a part-time or limited basis. And I'm sure there are a lot of other fans similar to me who are mainly NASCAR fans, know a lot about Jimmie Johnson and know about IndyCar, but don't watch it super closely, who are also going to be extremely interested by this. This is big news for IndyCar more than anything. I mean, obviously for Jimmie Johnson, if he can go out there and actually run really well, that's huge for his legacy and his brand and everything. But for the IndyCar series, when you get the most successful driver of the last generation in NASCAR coming over to your series and possibly having success, at the very least just bringing that audience with him, I mean, that's a big deal for the IndyCar series. And it's big for NASCAR as well. I like that NASCAR in recent years, and more importantly, NASCAR drivers and people in the NASCAR series, it's good to see people in NASCAR kind of playing nice with IndyCar and vice versa. Of course, earlier this month, they ran the Cup Series and the IndyCar Series at the same track at Indianapolis on the same weekend. First time that had ever happened. So I just think this is good news for IndyCar fans and NASCAR fans and overall just American racing fans in general. Of course, NASCAR having the bigger audience means this is a bigger bump probably to IndyCar in the grand scheme of things, but right now, I think, and I've said this before, I think the state of motorsports in this country, they're not in a position where I think series should be actively kind of trying to distance themselves from each other. I mean, as far as the on-track product, the style of racing, sure, yeah, I think it's honestly smart if NASCAR is a very different product than what IndyCar is putting on and vice versa. You know, I think it's smart to distinguish your series as something unique and something different. But when it comes to like running events together on the same weekend or having drivers and competitors bounce from series to series, I think it's smart for NASCAR and IndyCar to kind of play up with that and kind of focus on that avenue of it and that aspect of it. I think that's just smart at this point. It makes both of their fan bases stronger, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but that's what I think. So this is cool to see Jimmie Johnson taking such an interest in IndyCar, and I'm happy for Jimmie Johnson fans who hopefully will get to see Jimmie Johnson go out on a high note next year if it doesn't happen this year. Because right now, 2020 is not going well for Jimmie Johnson, needless to say. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of Jimmie Johnson running IndyCar next year, potentially. Let me know what you think of the Superstar Racing experience and what those cars may or may not look like. Let me know what you think about everything that was discussed in this video down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you are new. We talk about NASCAR almost daily on this channel. So follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and of course, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Couldn't do the show without your support. Thank you for continuing to support Out of the Groove, support me, support the videos. If you also want to support the show, check out that top link down in the description, folks. I greatly appreciate it. New Hampshire this weekend, the Magic Mile should be an interesting race. We'll have plenty of things to talk about between now and then, so keep an eye on your subscription boxes. I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.